Welcome to PeopleSoft Now. I'm Rebekah Jackson. In this episode, we're continuing our conversations with members of the product strategy team and introducing you to another person who's joined us recently, Tina Thames, who's now looking after asset lifecycle management. Today, I'm excited to welcome Tina Thames, Director of Product Strategy for our Asset Lifecycle Management products, to the show. Tina, welcome.
Good morning. Great to meet you.
It's great to have you here. You're new to the product strategy team, but not new to the PeopleSoft community. Can you start by introducing us to your background?
Sure. I have been working in PeopleSoft from 1999. That's when I did my first implementation on version 7.5. And I was able to do a really large implementation with that client and had over 3,800 business units, 1.1 million assets. And so I really got my foot in the door with that first big project. From there, I started consulting. And so I moved on to different industries, did a lot in financial services, as well as insurance. We had some transportation projects, oil and gas projects, higher education, and public sector as well.
Well, it's wonderful to have your real-world expertise on the team. Now that you're part of PeopleSoft Product Strategy, can you talk a little bit more about the products that you're responsible for?
Sure. The Asset Lifecycle Management product group includes asset management, where you're going to be capitalizing, tracking your assets, as well as depreciating those and doing your financial reporting. There is lease administration, where you're able to track both payables and receivable leases with the new ASC 842 guidelines under FASB and some for GASB as well. And then finally, we have maintenance management, which is what I'm most excited about, because now we have the ability to track all of the repairs, both preventive and corrective maintenance that you're performing on your assets. And so it adds another dynamic of data that we can look at. So not only how much does it cost, what's the current net book value, but also how much is it costing you to maintain it.
We've done, I know, some important work in all of those module areas. When you look back at the features that we've delivered over, let's say, the last 12 months or so, is there anything that really stands out that you think is a highlight, and how are customers responding to it?
One of the biggest ones is that we're introducing the Kibana Analytics. And so we've done that for asset management. It allows us to look at everything that we need to see, financial information, depreciation information. We can track it and slice it and dice it by category, by asset classes, just by different types of information. And then in maintenance management, we can also track, and with the Kibana Analytics, we can track the like the top 5 assets that are costing the most money to maintain. So, you get to look and see, well, maybe it's time to replace these assets. There's a lot of different analytics in those as well. The other thing that I've been kind of excited about that we've rolled out is the delegation framework. And we went ahead and released that across all 3 modules within ALM. And so from an approval perspective, if you're working on approvals and you're going to be going on vacation, there's just a simple activity guide that you can walk through to say, I'm going to be out from these dates and I would like these people to pick it up. And so it's kind of a self-service type option for delegations.
As hearing you talk about them, we really run the gamut of some strategic and in other cases, rather tactical, but very important capabilities to keep an organization's operations running. As you look forward to what's coming on the roadmap and some of what you're working on with the product development team, what are you most excited about for customers to get their hands on?
I think the first thing I'm excited about is that we're converting our classic work centers for asset management and maintenance management into the new Fluid. And it's important to note that we're not just like looking at the current one and just moving that into a different user interface. We are actually evaluating each of the MyWorks that are included in there, determining if the customers like what they're using, if they'd like to make tweaks to it, or if they'd like to add new ones. And so we've been doing focus groups to be able to get that information and put it into our design. We are working in maintenance management to add mass change functionalities. So right now, when users go in, they can go into the mobile technician site and they can choose their My Tasks. And they can go in and they can update their hours on a work order, or they can go in and add a PCR problem codes to each one. But now we're going to be adding kind of what we call a multitasker, meaning that if you finish the day and you worked on 5 work orders and those were all, say, preventive maintenance and very similar, like replacing air filters or something like that, you can go in and select all of those, update your hours for all of them, update the PCR codes for all of them at one time. It's just a mass update. And so we actually had seen that customization at a customer that we had, and we really liked it. So we're starting to incorporate the functionality over the next year or so.
That's great to hear. I'm assuming there's also continued work in Kibana Analytics and some of the other areas that we've been working on over the last few years as well.
Yes, for lease administration, we're going to be adding Kibana Analytics. And that's a very exciting tool because, you know, we didn't have any really graphical pivot grids or any type of that information in lease administration. So this is going to be our first visual that we're going to be able to see for lease analytics.
That's great. And of course, customer response to Kibana Analytics has been so strong in terms of the performance, the power of the visualizations, and sort of the data insights that it can unlock.
It is. It's really powerful information. I like to call it actionable analytics, because you're actually not just something you're looking at, but you can look at it and say, hey, I need to address this, this, or this.
As you've transitioned into being part of the product strategy team from being kind of out in the field working with customers, maybe we'll close with one last question. What surprised you most as you've joined the ranks of us in product development?
The biggest thing was access to information. So it's like the first thing I wanted to do is kind of look under the hood and say, hey, you know, what have we got here? And so there's just so much information that's available out there. But the biggest surprise is that it's not just available to an employee of Oracle, it's also available to all of our customers. And there was all this information out there. And I maybe only knew about 30% of what was out there before. And so I did write a blog recently about the hidden treasures that I found, you know, during my first few months at Oracle. And I think the key to what we can see out there and what customers should know they have access to is it's going to allow business owners to go out there and look at the new images, what's been released in them through highlight videos. They can also look at video feature overview documents where they are able to see kind of a detailed snapshot of how you use a very specific new functionality. And now they can go back to their technical team and ask them to incorporate those either in a full image release or as selective adoption. It allows them to just incorporate this one new piece of functionality that's going to save them, say, 20%, you know, time in their close process.
That's great to hear. I want all of our customers to discover those hidden treasures just the same way you did. Yes. Tina, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And I do want to invite the customers to look at our different ways that you can contribute. We have focus groups and we have CAB team members. We have all kinds of information on the My Oracle support site where they can enter ideas and vote on other people's ideas. And so this is a great place for us to get the information that we can add to the product for you.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad to have you here working with our customers. Thanks again for joining. And please stay with us as we do your In the Know update.
Good, Sparky.